I just watched a 58-year-old man lose his entire retirement savings in 6 months. 6 months, 25 years of saving gone. And you know what the worst part is? He did exactly what some financial guru told him to do. If you're over 50 and you've been thinking about putting money into any of the 5 investments I'm about to reveal, stop right now, drop everything and watch this video, because what I'm about to tell you could literally save you from financial disaster. Hit that like button. If you're ready for some brutal honesty, comment below with your age so I know who I'm talking to, and subscribe, because this might be the most important investment advice you'll ever hear. Here's what nobody wants to tell you about investing after 50. The rules completely change. The strategies that work when you're 30 will destroy you when you're 50. The investments that make sense when you have 20 years to recover will bankrupt you when you have 10 years until retirement. And yet, financial advisors, YouTube gurus, and investment platforms keep pushing the same garbage advice to everyone regardless of age. I've been investing for over 30 years. I've made millions. I've lost millions. I've seen every investment trend come and go. But more importantly, I've watched hundreds of entrepreneurs on Shark Tank make both brilliant and catastrophic investment decisions. And after all these years, I can tell you that the biggest investment mistakes aren't made by young people who don't know better. They're made by people over 50 who should know better but get seduced by promises of easy money. The first investment you absolutely must avoid if you're over 50, and this is going to shock you, cryptocurrency. Now, before all the crypto fanatics start screaming in the comments, hear me out. I'm not saying crypto is bad. I'm not saying it won't go up. I'm saying it's the wrong investment for someone over 50, and I'm going to tell you exactly why. When you're 55 years old, you don't have time to wait for crypto winter to end. You don't have the luxury of holding through multiple boom and bust cycles. You can't afford to watch your investment drop 70% and just wait 5 years for it to come back. Young people can do that. People in their 20s and 30s can buy Bitcoin at 60,000, watch it drop to 20,000, and just hold on because they have decades for it to recover. But when you're over 50, time is not on your side. Every year matters. Every market cycle matters. You're not investing play money that you can afford to lose. You're investing retirement money that you absolutely cannot afford to lose. I see people in their 50s and 60s putting their life savings into crypto because some 25-year-old on TikTok told them it's going to make them rich. These people worked 30 years to save $300,000, and they're risking it all on something they don't understand because they're afraid of missing out. Let me tell you something about fear of missing out. You know what's worse than missing out on crypto gains? Missing out on retirement? You know what's worse than not getting rich from Bitcoin? Being broke at 70 because you gambled your retirement on digital coins? Here's the brutal truth about crypto. It's speculation, not investment. And speculation is a young person's game. When you speculate, you're essentially gambling that you can predict the future movements of an asset that has no underlying value, no cash flow, no dividends, nothing but the hope that someone else will pay more for it than you did. The second investment you must avoid, and this one is going to hurt because it sounds so smart, growth stocks with no profits. You know what I'm talking about. These companies that are supposedly going to revolutionize everything, that are growing revenue like crazy, but haven't made a penny of profit yet. Wall Street loves these companies. Financial media loves these companies. Young investors love these companies, and they're absolutely wrong for anyone over 50. Here's why. When you're young, you can afford to bet on potential. You can afford to wait 5 or 10 years for a company to figure out how to make money. You can afford to hold through the inevitable crashes when investors realize that revenue growth without profit growth is meaningless. But when you're over 50, you need companies that are making money today. You need dividends. You need cash flow. You need businesses with proven business models, not science experiments. I see this mistake all the time. People in their 50s putting money into companies like Tesla when it was burning cash, or some biotech stock that might have a breakthrough drug, or some software company that's growing fast but losing money on every customer. These investments might work out in the long run, but the long run might be longer than you have. And even if they do work out, the volatility along the way will give you a heart attack. Do you really want to be checking your portfolio every day, wondering if your retirement fund just got cut in half because some growth stock missed earnings? The third investment you absolutely must avoid, and this one makes me angry because it specifically targets older people. Annuities. Oh my gosh, annuities. If I could ban one financial product from being sold to people over 50, it would be annuities. Here's how the annuity scam works. Some smooth-talking insurance salesman comes to you and says, "Hey, I've got this amazing investment that guarantees you'll never lose money and promises you steady income for life." Sounds great, right? Wrong. It's one of the worst investments you can possibly make. First, annuities have fees that will make your head spin. Management fees, surrender fees, mortality fees, administrative fees. By the time you add them all up, you're paying 3, 4, sometimes 5% per year in fees. That means your investment needs to go up 5% just to break even. Second, annuities lock up your money for years, sometimes decades. Want to get your money out early? Too bad. You'll pay massive surrender charges that can eat up years of returns. Third, the returns are terrible. Most annuities are designed to make the insurance company rich, not you. They'll promise you steady income, but that income is based on returns that are often lower than what you could get from a simple index fund. And here's the really sneaky part. They sell these things by playing on your fears. They know that when you're over 50, you're worried about market crashes. You're worried about losing money. So they promise you safety and guaranteed returns. But what they don't tell you is that inflation will eat up those guaranteed returns faster than you can say retirement. Let me put this in perspective. If you put $100,000 into an annuity that promises you 4% per year and inflation is running at 3% per year, you're making 1% real return. That means your money will take 70 years to double. 70 years. You'll be dead before your investment makes any meaningful money. But here's what really makes me angry about annuities. They're sold almost exclusively to older people by salespeople who get massive commissions, sometimes 8 or 10% of your entire investment. So if you put $100,000 into an annuity, the salesperson immediately gets $8,000 to $10,000 of your money as commission. No wonder they're pushing these things so hard. The fourth investment you must avoid if you're over 50, and this one might surprise you, individual stocks that you pick yourself. Now, I'm not saying all individual stocks are bad. I'm saying that stock picking is bad for people over 50 who don't have professional investment experience. Here's the problem with stock picking when you're older. You don't have time to recover from mistakes. When a 25-year-old picks a bad stock and loses 50% of their money, they have 40 years to make it back. When a 55-year-old picks a bad stock and loses 50%, they might never recover. But the real problem isn't just losing money on bad picks. The real problem is that most people over 50 think they know more about investing than they actually do. They read a few articles, they watch some financial TV, they think they understand business because they've been working for 30 years, and then they start making individual stock picks like they're Warren Buffett. Let me tell you something. Warren Buffett is a genius who spends 12 hours a day studying companies and industries. He has teams of analysts working for him. He has access to information that you and I will never see. And even Warren Buffett makes mistakes sometimes. If Warren Buffett, with all his resources and experience, makes mistakes, what makes you think you can pick individual stocks successfully? What makes you think you can outsmart professional fund managers who have spent their entire careers studying the market? I see this all the time. People in their 50s who should be playing it safe, putting their money into boring, diversified index funds, but instead, they're trying to pick the next Apple or Amazon. They read about some hot stock tip online and they put $10,000 or $20,000 into it without doing any real research. Here's what usually happens. They get lucky on 1 or 2 picks and they think they're investment geniuses. Then they start taking bigger risks, making bigger bets, and eventually they pick a stock that goes to zero and wipes out years of gains. The casino always wins in the end, and the stock market is the biggest casino in the world. The fifth and final investment you must avoid if you're over 50, and this is the one that breaks my heart because it sounds so reasonable, real estate investment trusts that promise high yields. REITs, especially the ones that promise 8, 10, 12% dividends, are some of the most dangerous investments for older people. Here's the problem. When something promises returns that are way above market rates, there's always a catch. Always. If REITs could safely generate 10% returns year after year, why would anyone invest in anything else? Why would anyone accept 3% from bonds or 7% from stocks when they could get 10% from REITs? The answer is because those high yields are not sustainable. They're either paying dividends with borrowed money, which means they're slowly going broke, or they're in high-risk real estate sectors that are about to crash, or they're using accounting tricks to make their dividends look bigger than they really are. I've seen so many people over 50 get sucked into these high-yield REIT traps. They see a 12% dividend, and they think they've found the holy grail of retirement income. They put their entire life savings into these things, and then when the dividend gets cut or the REIT goes bankrupt, they lose everything. Here's the brutal truth about high-yield investments. High yield always means high risk. There's no such thing as a safe investment that pays way above market returns. If it sounds too good to be true, it is too good to be true. Period. But you know what the real tragedy is with all these investments I just mentioned? People over 50 are making these mistakes because they're scared. They're scared that their retirement savings aren't enough. They're scared that inflation is going to eat up their money. They're scared that they're running out of time to build wealth. So they take bigger and bigger risks trying to make up for lost time. They chase returns that don't exist. They believe in get-rich-quick schemes that are really get-poor-quick schemes. They turn their retirement planning into gambling. Let me tell you something. Fear is not an investment strategy. Desperation is not an investment strategy. Hope is not an investment strategy. When you're over 50, you need to accept reality. You need to accept that you're probably not going to get rich from your investments. You need to accept that the goal is not to maximize returns. The goal is to preserve what you have while generating enough income to maintain your lifestyle. That means boring investments. That means diversified index funds. That means high-quality dividend-paying stocks. That means bonds, even though they're not exciting. That means building a portfolio that will still be there when you need it, not a portfolio that might make you rich or might make you broke. So what should you invest in if you're over 50? I'm glad you asked, because while I've spent this entire video telling you what not to do, I want to end by telling you what you should do. And the answer might surprise you because it's incredibly simple. First, you should invest in yourself, but not the way most people think. Don't go back to school for another degree. Don't spend $50,000 on some business coaching program. Don't invest in learning about cryptocurrency or day trading or option strategies. Instead, invest in building skills that can generate income right now. Maybe you need to update your technology skills so you can work longer. Maybe you need to build a consulting practice based on your decades of experience. Maybe you need to learn how to monetize a hobby or passion that you've ignored for years because you were focused on your career. The point is, the best investment you can make when you're over 50 is in your ability to generate income for the next 10 to 15 years. Because here's the reality. You're probably going to need to work longer than you think. Social Security probably won't be enough. Your 401k probably won't be enough. But if you can generate even an extra $1,000 or $2,000 per month from skills-based income, that changes everything. Second, you should invest in businesses that you understand, that have been profitable for decades, that pay dividends, and that sell products or services that people will always need. I'm talking about utilities, consumer staples, healthcare companies, boring businesses that make boring profits and pay boring dividends. These companies aren't going to make you rich, but they're not going to make you broke either. They're going to give you steady returns that you can count on. They're going to pay you dividends that will help supplement your retirement income. They're going to be there when you need them. Third, you should invest in yourself physically. I know this sounds weird coming from a business guy, but hear me out. The biggest financial risk you face after 50 isn't market crashes or inflation. It's health problems. Medical expenses can destroy your retirement faster than any bad investment. So invest in staying healthy. Invest in preventative care. Invest in staying active. Invest in eating well, because every dollar you spend on maintaining your health today could save you thousands or tens of thousands in medical costs later. Now, let me address something that I know some of you are thinking. Robert, this all sounds very conservative. What if I need my money to grow? What if I haven't saved enough for retirement? What if I need bigger returns to catch up? Here's my answer. If you're 55 years old and you haven't saved enough for retirement, taking bigger investment risks is not going to solve your problem. You know what's going to solve your problem? Working longer, spending less, and generating additional income. I know that's not what you want to hear. I know you want me to give you some secret investment that's going to turn your $100,000 into $1 million in the next 10 years. But that investment doesn't exist, at least not without risks that could leave you with nothing. The truth is, if you're behind on your retirement savings, you need to change your lifestyle, not your investment strategy. You need to figure out how to live on less money or how to make more money or how to work a few more years than you originally planned. Because here's what nobody wants to tell you. Retirement is a luxury, not a right. For most of human history, people worked until they died. The idea that you can stop working at 65 and live for 20 more years without earning income is a recent invention, and it's an expensive invention. That doesn't mean you can't retire. It just means you need to be realistic about what retirement looks like and how much money it's going to take to fund it. Let me give you some numbers that might shock you. If you want to replace 70% of your pre-retirement income and you're currently making $75,000 per year, you'll need about $50,000 per year in retirement income. Over 20 years, that's $1 million. Over 30 years, that's $1.5 million. And that's not accounting for inflation. Do you have $1.5 million saved for retirement? Most people don't. Which means most people are going to have to adjust their expectations about retirement or their timeline for retirement. But here's the good news. If you stop chasing get-rich-quick investments and start focusing on preservation and steady growth, if you keep working a few extra years, if you're willing to live on a little less than you originally planned, retirement is absolutely achievable. The key is being honest about your situation instead of hoping that some miracle investment is going to save you. The key is making smart, boring, conservative investment decisions instead of gambling with your future. Look, I know this isn't the exciting investment advice that gets clicks on YouTube. I know you probably wanted me to tell you about some secret investment that only wealthy people know about. But you know what? The secret investment advice that wealthy people follow is incredibly boring. We invest in diversified portfolios of boring companies. We don't chase trends. We don't try to time the market. We don't put all our money into cryptocurrency or growth stocks or high-yield REITs. We get rich slowly, steadily, and safely, and that's exactly what you should do too, especially if you're over 50. So here's my challenge for you. Stop looking for the next hot investment. Stop listening to financial gurus who promise easy money. Stop trying to make up for lost time with high-risk investments. Instead, focus on the basics. Build a diversified portfolio of quality investments. Generate additional income from your skills and experience. Live below your means. And be patient. It's not sexy, but it works. And when you're 75 years old and you're financially secure while your friends who chased get-rich-quick schemes are still working because they lost everything, you'll thank me. Which of these 5 investments have you been considering? Drop a comment and let me know. And if this video saved you from making a costly mistake, hit that like button and subscribe because I've got a lot more real investment advice coming your way. Remember, getting rich slowly is better than getting poor quickly.